All right, you briefly touched on it, and I've always been fascinated and about the topic, and I'd like to hear you talk about what's your thoughts about reincarnation.
Absolutely. Reincarnation is a great topic. I know many people in the field, such as Dr. Brian Weiss, have really, come to the forefront and, broken in this information. And people like Edgar Casey as well have gone into it. But my experience with reincarnation is that I really saw a lot of past lives that I've lived from my near-death experience and through random life occurrences. For instance, one time I was on the pitcher's mound and I was pitching in a baseball game, and I saw previous lifetimes that I've led, and it was a bit traumatic, and I almost had to leave the mound. So my comfort is that, as I'm going forward, plenty of people have shared the fact that they remember their own previous lifetimes. They don't even need to be regressed in a past life regression. So past lives to me are very real, and they could teach you a lot about who you are, where you've come from, and where you're going to be headed to.
I've read some interesting articles on this topic, and one I'd like to hear your reaction is that sometimes you're in a place, could be a restaurant, it could be on a train, could be on a bus, could be on the beach, could be anywhere, and you see a person, and you know that person, but you just can't place them. And they say a lot of times that's someone you knew from a previous life. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, especially if you have that experience, even in New York, you think about how many people there are in New York. And if you have this one particular experience where you're feeling it, you're knowing it, there is something there. So for you to have that one experience with that one person, there's something going on between the two of you. But many times, when you look at someone, energy will understand energy. And when you're open, you'll really, be able to transcend time and look at that person and almost go back to a place that's very different than what you see in the here and now. So it really tells you a lot about time, that it's not exactly as linear as we make it. It's very, it's a lot different in the spirit realm.
Fascinating stuff. Let's say you meet someone and they're very skeptical, they're not spiritual. Talk about how you try to impress upon someone your views of the skeptics. And I know there are skeptics out there. So someone who's not spiritual, who doesn't believe in psychics and whatnot, reincarnation, how do you try to convert or try to have a skeptic kind of see your point of view?
It's a great question. What I would say is, I think what we try to do in the New Age movement is to allow people to go on their own paths. If you think about it, we have grade schools in elementary schools. So spiritually, it's the same way. Imagine a person would go from first grade spiritually to fifth grade. It wouldn't work. So some people need to come with, let's say, less awareness and their own truth so that they could work on their own, life stuff. Where other people come in, with a lot more knowledge, but the tests don't go away. But many people with more knowledge are supposed to really be guides, and they have their own stuff to work with. So I try not to impress upon too much of my opinions on people because that's ego. So I allow people to, have their own truths, and if they want to listen, absolutely. But if they want to beat at their own drum, you let them, because you should let the process unfold and not enforce, because ultimate change comes within, not from another person, really.
On this show, we've had a psychic who Shira Benedetto, who's been extremely impressive. Who are some of the psychics on Long Island, some of the people, mentors that have really made an impact, who really have impressed you in your time?
Thank you so much for asking that. It's always a great pleasure to understand where you are and who has paved the path for you. So for me, I'm particularly close with a man by the name of Glenn Dove. Glenn's been a psychic in Long Island, since, the beginning when we really started this. He came up with a man by the name of John Edward, and he's fantastic. Another one that I'm close to is a man by the name of Robert Richard Wright. And lastly, I'm close with a man by the name of Daniel Ackner, who really got me into this path and gave me the confidence that I needed to know that this was where I need to be, that the podium was my jacket, and talking in front of people was my real mission that I had no business turning down. So people like that really provided confidence in me.
You obviously have spirituality. Talk about how spirituality has an impact on someone in a positive way.
Absolutely. I think many times religion, teaches people to look outside of themselves for answers. And I think part of the strength of spirituality that it's individual based. It allows you to look within for answers and to develop your own strength. So when you leave the church rooms or when you leave the synagogues, when you're spiritual, you don't need people. You don't need people that you rely on. You don't need texts. You have yourself, your own emotions, and what's called your own higher self, which provides a lot of clarity and answers to the moment-to-moment existence. So it's a lot of strength-based, and it's very self-reliant in many ways, while being universal in that you see yourself as connected to other people and not a separate individuation from the greater whole. So it's terrific. I highly recommend people do it, but please understand that there is a separation between spirituality and religion in many regards.
Jake, where do you want to go in 5-10 years? Where do you want this, where do you see your life path heading with where you are now?
Absolutely. Well, I always try to reach the vision that I had when I decided to stay on planet Earth, when I saw myself speaking in front of a big crowd. And later in life, I had a woman who actually came up to me. I didn't say one word, and she said, "You're going to be speaking in front of a lot of people one day." So for me, my goal is to reach as many people as I can with this story, amongst many other stories, because spirituality is all about evolving and coming up with new stuff to provide to people. Because people are changing, so does the information, as it allows people to be met where they're at. So I hope to constantly evolve. I hope to constantly change my, what I have to provide, but also provide, my root message, and that's my near-death experience, and that's my core. So I really hope to branch off of that. I'm getting trained in hypnotherapy, and I'm also a licensed social worker, so I hope to integrate a lot of what I know into many different modalities that I work with.
All right. I think that this has really been a fascinating interview. I've known Jake since a little boy, and I was so impressed how well-spoken and how passionate you are, and we hope to have you back and hear from you down the road.
Absolutely, Howie, and from a young guy who knew you from today, it's a true pleasure to have this full circle moment with you, and I hope to only continue this. And this has been a great reunion, and everything happens for a reason. So it's a pleasure that we bumped into each other, and we'll continue to meet and greet. Because you're someone who I really look up to, and Long Beach and the island is very lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. By the way, we reunited at his older sister's wedding, so it was a very happy occasion. Thank you, Jake Cooper.
Thank you.